Twisted motives to unimaginable violence. This video of the most evil kids in the world uncovers the horrifying crimes committed by children who were capable of unspeakable acts. Prepare yourself for a shocking journey as we delve into the disturbing stories of 15 young perpetrators, examining the depths of their depravity and how their actions leave you questioning the very nature of evil. Jasmine Richardson. In the quiet town of Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada, a gruesome and shocking crime took place that would forever haunt the community. It was April 23, 2006, when the lives of the Richardson family were brutally cut short in their own home. Mark Richardson, a 42-year-old father, Deborah Richardson, a 48-year-old mother, and their 8-year-old son, Tyler Jacob, fell victim to a horrifying act of violence that would send shockwaves through the nation. The scene was one of unimaginable horror, as the couple had been brutally stabbed to death in the basement and their young son found dead upstairs. The absence of their 12-year-old daughter, Jasmine Richardson, added to the confusion and fear. For a brief moment, there was a glimmer of hope that she had somehow escaped the violence. However, that hope was shattered when it was revealed that Jasmine was not a victim, but a perpetrator in this heinous crime. It wasn't until the following day that Jasmine Richardson was apprehended, but not in Medicine Hat. She was found in the community of Leader, Saskatchewan, approximately 130 kilometers away from her hometown, and she wasn't alone. With her was her 23-year-old boyfriend, Jeremy Allen Steinke, who would later adopt the name Jackson May. As the investigation unfolded, the motive behind the Richardson family murders became clear. Jasmine's parents had grounded her for her relationship with Steinke, citing the significant age difference as a cause for concern. The couple also had a disturbing relationship with Steinke, claiming he was a 300-year-old werewolf and even wore
Yeah. Why? There was a fly on me, so I wanted to smell really good so the fly wouldn't like me. Because flies don't like good smells.
vial of blood around, a macabre symbol of his obsession. In the days leading up to the murders, the couple's behavior grew increasingly disturbing. They watched the film Natural Born Killers, a violent movie about a young couple who embark on a killing spree. On July 9, 2007, Richardson, who had turned 13 by then, was found guilty of 3 counts of first-degree murder, making her the youngest person ever convicted of multiple first-degree murder counts in Canada. Despite her age, Richardson was sentenced to the maximum allowed under the law for someone her age, 10 years in prison. In November 2008, Steinke was tried and found guilty by a jury on 3 counts of first-degree murder for the killings of the 3 Richardson victims. On December 15, 2008, Steinke was sentenced to 3 life sentences, one for each first-degree murder count. The sentences were to be served concurrently, meaning that he would be eligible for parole after serving 25 years. Lionel Tate. Born on January 30th, 1987, in Broward County, Florida, Lionel Tate holds the infamous distinction of being the youngest American ever sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. It was a seemingly ordinary day on July 28, 1999, in Broward County, Florida. Lionel Tate, a 13-year-old boy, was left alone with Tiffany Unick, who his mother, Kathleen Grossett Tate, was babysitting. Little did anyone know that this day would mark the beginning of a nightmare. As the children played downstairs, Tate's mother called out urging them to keep the noise down. Unbeknownst to her, a sinister plan was already in motion. Approximately 45 minutes later, Tate delivered the horrifying news to his mother that Tiffany was no longer breathing. What awaited Kathleen upstairs was a sight that would haunt her for the rest of her days. Tiffany's small body was covered in bruises, her legs, feet, and neck bearing the marks of a brutal assault. The force used on her was so severe that it was likened to the impact of a speeding car, but the physical injuries were just the beginning of the horrors Tiffany had endured. Alongside the bruises, Tiffany suffered a fractured skull, a lacerated liver, a fractured rib, and a swollen brain. Tate claimed he was just showing her some wrestling moves in what was supposedly child's play. However, her injuries were described as similar to those she would have sustained by falling from a 3-story building. Tate was immediately, and despite being just a kid, he was tried as an adult. Under Florida statutes, Tate was convicted of first-degree murder, even without evidence of intent to kill or injure. All that was required was the knowledge that Tate knowingly abused another child who died as a result.
Lionel Tate in the state of Florida in the juvenile court system meant that Lionel was facing 6 to 9 months in juvenile detention. That's one 1 month for every year of this little girl's life. And in my estimation, that was not an appropriate sentence. That was not justice for this
This
little girl.
controversial rule allowed Tate to be sentenced to life in prison without the prosecution having to prove his intent or even his realization of the consequences. Amajit Sada. In the dark annals of crime, some stories defy comprehension and shake us to our core. One such story is that of Amajit Sada, the world's youngest serial killer, born in the village of Mushahar in Bihar, India. Amajit's name is synonymous with unimaginable evil. From an early age, Amajit displayed a solitary nature, often preferring to spend his time alone. It was during a visit from Amajit's aunt, who had recently found a job in the city, that the first signs of Amajit's sinister nature emerged. His aunt, unable to care for her own child while she settled into her new job, asked Amajit's family to look after the baby. With his mother needing to go to the local market, Amajit was left in charge of his cousin and his younger sister. It was during this time that Amajit's true nature began to reveal itself. He started by pinching and slapping the baby, finding amusement in her cries. But as the baby's cries escalated, so did Amajit's actions. For reasons unknown, he decided to raise the bar and put his hands around the baby's throat, depriving her of breath until she did. When Amajit's parents later discovered what he had done, they decided to keep the incident a secret instead of involving the authorities. Tragically, this would not be the end of Amajit's dark journey. His next victim would be his own 8-month-old sister. As his parents slept, Amajit strangled his innocent sibling, snuffing out her life without remorse. It wasn't until 2007 that Amajit's crimes would finally come to light. His final alleged victim was a 6-month-old baby girl named Khushbu. The baby's mother, a neighbor, had left her daughter sleeping at a local primary school. When she returned, she was met with a mother's worst nightmare. Her baby was missing. However, under mounting pressure and scrutiny, Amajit's parents eventually allowed their son to confess to the unimaginable. Amajit admitted to strangling Khushbu, hitting her with a brick, and burying her in a shallow grave. Astonishingly, he was able to lead the police to the exact spot where he had hidden her lifeless body. The truth of Amajit's crimes was finally exposed, sending shockwaves through the community and the nation as a whole. Instead of facing a traditional trial, Amajit was placed in a remand home where he would receive the necessary care and treatment until he turned 18. It was determined that he suffered from conduct disorders, a psychiatric condition characterized by a persistent pattern of violating the rights of others and disregarding societal norms. In 2016, upon turning 18, Amajit was released from the remand home. The decision to release him was met with mixed reactions from the public. Some believed that he had served his time and should be given a chance at redemption, while others feared that he posed a continued threat to society. The current whereabouts of Amajit Sada remain unknown. It is believed that he was given a new identity to protect him from potential harm and to allow him to start afresh. However, the question of whether someone with such a dark past can truly be rehabilitated lingers in the minds of many. Mary Bell. In 1960.
Hi, excuse me, miss. Hello. What if I told you I could get you some money right now?
At the tender age of 10, Mary Bell committed a series of unimaginable crimes that would forever brand her as the most evil kid in the world. Strangling her victims with a cold and calculated demeanor, she left behind haunting confession notes that sent shockwaves through her community. The details of her crimes are so horrifying that they defy belief. Born on May 26, 1957, in Newcastle, England, Mary Bell's early years were marked by neglect, abuse, and a profound lack of love and stability. As Mary grew older, her life took a dark turn. She became increasingly withdrawn, manipulative, and prone to violent outbursts. It is believed that her troubled upbringing, marked by neglect and abuse, played a significant role in shaping her disturbed psyche. As Mary Bell entered her preteen years, her growing obsession with death became increasingly apparent. On May 25, 1968, the day before her 11th birthday, Mary Bell committed her first murder. She lured 4-year-old Martin Brown into an abandoned house in Scotswood, England, where she proceeded to strangle him to death. Mary left the scene and returned with her friend Norma Bell, no relation, only to discover that 2 local boys had stumbled upon the lifeless body. The police were called, and the investigation into Martin's death began. The police were initially mystified by Martin's death. Besides a small amount of blood and saliva on his face, there were no apparent signs of violence. An empty bottle of painkillers near the body led them to believe that Martin's death was an accident, the result of an overdose. Shortly after this disturbing encounter, Mary and Norma broke into a nursery school and vandalized it with notes taking responsibility for Martin Brown's death. On July 31st, 1968, Mary Bell and her friend Norma embarked on their most horrifying act yet. They lured 3-year-old Brian Howe to a secluded area where Mary proceeded to strangle him to death. But the horror didn't end there. In a display of unimaginable cruelty, Mary mutilated Brian's body with a pair of scissors. She scratched his thighs and butchered his genitals, leaving behind a scene of unspeakable horror. The coroner's report also revealed a disturbing detail. As Brian's blood had cooled, new marks appeared on his chest. Someone had used a razor blade to scratch the letter M onto his torso, a chilling signature left by Mary Bell. Norma, perhaps overwhelmed by guilt, began cooperating with the police and implicated Mary in the crimes. She was eventually sentenced to be imprisoned at Her Majesty's pleasure, a British legal term that denotes an indeterminate sentence. Today, Mary Bell remains protected by the British government, living in anonymity under a new identity. Christian Fernandez.
Christian Fernandez was